Welcome to the countdown. While you wait for the show to begin, try to relax, grab a drink, sit down, and just enjoy the music.
Yeah. Ooh, whoa.
Don't Christina it out.
Okay.
A little bit of love goes a long, long way. If you believe everything is okay, a little bit of love goes a long, long way. Sign the lease, bring the rings today. Everybody say money, love, money, 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 more money, money, more money, money.
I told you beware of the intro. I had something special, if we can call it special. Welcome to the Chop. Tonight, season 15, episode 12, the Rusical, the gaslighting of Loosey LaDuca continues. The bullshit on this episode is incredibly strong. We're going to have a little bit of a different live stream because I am actually preparing a video to discuss this situation into more detail. So I didn't actually prepare all of the images and all of the things that I usually do for the live stream. So it will be more of a back and forth, and we can talk about different things and try to understand what's really going on and maybe put a little bit of context to whatever is going on. So first of all, as usual, let's greet the chat. We have Felicia, Amateur Season, Navari Love, Johnny Boitoy, Sen, Sleepy Rabbit, Feifei, Gemokel, Mario, Orchidude, Letitia, Deborah, Jennifer, Quadonti, Charlie X, Multipansi, Valeska, Melina, Romans, and Jacob, and I'm sorry I cannot pronounce the rest of the name. Sorry. I see, and also let's greet all of the viewers who cannot be here tonight, and they will watch. They will watch tomorrow. Thanks everybody for coming. So, this was an interesting episode. There was a lot of shit going on. Not much of it I actually liked. I don't know what's going on with Drag Race. I don't know what's going on with the Queens. We are going through many different eras at this point of Drag Race where the kind of show that is produced, the way is produced, and the people who are actually part of the production. And I'm not just talking about people from World of Wonder or people from Paramount. I'm talking also about the Queens themselves. Everyone is starting to play a different game that follows different rules and end up creating a totally different show at the end. Now, I have a personal attachment to the show, so I will watch the US version forever. Even where there will be 3 people left watching, I can guarantee I will be one of them. There's no changing that. It's a ritual for me. It's something that will go on for a long time, and I don't mind. What I do mind is when we start seeing some games being played on the show, when I start see some things being enabled on the show that ultimately end up hurting the people who participate in it, the public, because it's spreading ignorance, and also our own credibility. You cannot, with one hand, say one message and contradict yourself on the other hand. You cannot have in voice a clear message and then a subtext that tells you that the opposite is actually true. This is confusing to the audience, and this is something that we as a community don't really need, especially considering what's going on in the US. Now, I know that the US, it's not Europe. I don't have a full understanding of what's going on there, partly because I'm not incredibly informed on the topic, partly because I'm not part of that culture. I simply don't live there. But I think it's important to show support to what's happening to them. And part of the support is also giving proper feedback. That's why I had that intro, because as the Rusical said, nothing is black and white. And in order to acknowledging the shades in between, sometimes you have to look at the black part. So I want to talk about all of these things tonight. Comments at the Chop Live. I will be more attentive to the comments since I don't have to switch images. And we can go to this together. Oh my god, I already feel bad. Jennifer, I think Loosey and Mistress should have lip-synced for the top spot and nobody goes home. That's exactly what we were thinking as well. This was a perfect episode to have nobody going home. It was also a celebration. There was also an important political message behind it. It was a perfect occasion. I think this is another example of the people in charge who are not necessarily the people at World of Wonder. Remember, the network has a saying in all of this. So somebody has to take the blame for the fact that it seems like they don't actually know what they're doing. They want more episodes, then they do a lot of shock value, nobody goes on for 6 episodes, then they get backlash for that, so they bring in more queens so that they have more episodes, more money through advertisement, but then you sacrifice part of what is the competition and part of what is the storylines and starts creating artificial ones, because otherwise there is a perception that the show would be boring. This was a perfect episode. Now, regardless of episode counts and whatever it is, this was another, maybe the best episode in a while, in which it would have been completely justified that nobody would have gone home. And I can assure you that nobody would have had a problem with it. It was just a big celebration, and we could have kept it at that. But, as you know, not necessarily everybody in power also have wisdom. And sometimes, talent for doing what they are supposed to be doing. So, I have the episode here. We're going to scroll through different parts. If there is anything that you want me to focus, just tell me, and we can move through all of this. Now, the first scene that I want to talk about is the gaslighting of Loosey. I will prepare a proper video where I will have snippets and show the story at large. But for now, for me, this is just another example of 2 people playing the game. The edit completely goes with it. Everything, confessionals, camera angles, sounds, of course, all of the things that we got used to. They tell us a story. They tell us a story of a person who is being a little bit delusional, of a person that lies to people and to other people, calling them out. Now, I'm not buying any of this bullshit. What I did see was a person in clear distress. And the moment you see a person that starts getting in distress, that is your signal. That tells you, hey, something has gone wrong in whatever we are doing. Maybe provoking the other part should not be exactly the right thing to do. If your concern is really about telling things how they are, being real to the situation, and so on and so forth. To me, this looks like 2 people desperately trying to gaslight a third person just because they know that at some point somebody will have to be the villain, somebody will have to be sacrificed for making good television, and there is a vulnerable person right there that can be easily convinced into, not convinced, can be easily brought to a point in which she will deliver all of that sort of content that then can be easily cut and paste to create a very specific narrative. And at this point, We are at season 15. Everybody knows what the deal is about. We know it as viewers, they know it as producers, and the queens know it as participant in the show. Everybody knows it. And frankly, I am not in the business of bringing down people independently of what they do. But I will not go as far as saying that I lost a little bit of respect for Lux and Loosey, because that's not really what it's about. But I don't really enjoy seeing them anymore. I think for me this is a step too far. I do understand the stakes, but I think that the best example was last season with Lady British. She was incredibly professional, she knew which kind of game was being played in there, and she decided to cover her ass without throwing anyone under the bus. And that is the way to doing, and that's one of the reasons why I liked her so much, independently of, you know, the fakeness that that inevitably you get this perception of fakeness because somebody is guarding themselves so much. It's a perception, it's not an intention. So I did not enjoy this episode, which is a pity. It was an amazing episode. This was one of the best musicals that we had probably since season 6. The message, there was a real message behind it, an important real message behind it. The songs were good, the characters were all well developed, the music was good, it was fun, it was a very good musical. I will not forget this one. Like oh, sorry, did my internet fuck up again? It could be. The live froze. Oh my god, sorry. I am so sorry. I just cannot control what's going on. Am I back? I know there is about 6 seconds between the two of us. Okay, it's good now. Okay. One moment. Let me. Okay, I'm also connected via LAN, just for any problem. At some point I will have to do the shift to the proper computer because this laptop is not really doing its job. I'm sorry for the interruptions. Which part did not come to the other side of the live? What did we miss? Yeah, I know. I start going on a tangent talking about things and then I miss the point. Where were we? Kat, when you were talking about Camden. Okay, then I can quickly repeat it. The point about Lady Camden is that she was perfectly aware of what was required of participating on Drag Race. And by that I mean talent, I also mean editing, I also mean storylines. So she created a little bit of a persona, but it was not a persona created with the intention of deceiving everybody else. It was a way of defending herself from the possibility of being portrayed in a way that she wasn't, because that's 90% of your perception by participating on Drag Race. It's the edit. So I did respect that way of doing it. What I do not respect is this way of doing it. Throwing somebody else under the bus, trying to gaslight somebody, singling out and picking on the weakest one, because if it's you, it's not going to be me. That's just I don't know. I don't like it. I don't condone it. I think it's I mean, we're all here talking about being a community, doing that kind of shit has nothing to do with community, has nothing to do with being real, has everything to do in being cutthroat in what you want to achieve, regardless of the consequences on other people. And at this point, it is so clear by judging the dynamic behind it that there is not really much editing covering up what's really going on. Certainly the edit tries to push in one very specific direction, tries to manipulate our perception in a very specific direction, but I think that it's quite easy at this point to look past through it and realizing what's really going on. And it's kind of upsetting. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I was like, you know what, I will just do a video about this because it's easier, it spreads the message quicker, and I can also use snippets of videos instead of, banter about it for 1 hour. It was, I don't know, it was kind of upsetting, which was a missed opportunity. It was really a missed opportunity. This musical was really, really good, and it was needed, and they put a ton of effort doing it. And you know how much fun I have shitting on the poor production behind RuPaul's Drag Race. But this was an exception. This was a real exception. Like, I never rewatch the musicals unless, I'm trying to find out where they cut the performances, where they try to match two different takes in order to make somebody look better or look worse. This I genuinely enjoyed just rewatching it, like the previous lip sync. It was a very good one, and it's unfortunate that has been tainted by so much bullshit going on during filming. Honestly, it's a war against people who have nothing, and it's literally playing into some people's hands. Let's go to the comments. Jennifer, do you think Loosey is playing into what the production is trying to do with her? Or do you think she's actually cracking? I think she is actually cracking. Also judging of what transpired outside of Drag Race, I think she was actually cracking. Romans, I thought Lux maybe had a bad edit, but she said at Roscoe's that her edit was accurate, and she was not ashamed of it. I know you are not watching it right now, so I wonder what you think. Yeah, I'm not watching Roscoe because of the possible spoilers. Farrowin sometimes sends me a recap of what went on Roscoe's, and when she has time to do it, I actually discuss it in the live stream. But I don't think she had time this week, so I have no idea what happened in Roscoe's this week. Caleb, it cut out where you were talking about. Oh yes, Mario. I think you are describing the sacrifice of Loosey. Absolutely, yes. She looks like the sacrificial lamb at this point, but it's even worse than that because she is actually being gaslight into becoming the sacrificial lamb. And, there are many things that I can understand. There are many things that I can find reason for and empathize. I can do that. I don't have a problem with it. When it comes to gaslighting, due to the amount of knowledge, due to the amount of brain power that it's necessary to actually accomplish, it becomes very difficult for me to actually try to find reasons to justify it. This, to me, I will be very blunt, it looks like greed. If you get a villain added, it won't be anybody else, which means our career will have a more positive impact for participating on Drag Race. And that's about it. And it's disguised as being real. And to me, gaslighting is really one of the worst things in the world. It's really, really terrible due to the amount of calculating that goes behind it. When you fuck up with something, and I can assure you, I fuck up on a ton of things. I also try to learn from the things that I fuck up, but I fuck up a lot. The point is, when you gaslight somebody, you have so many points in which you can realize that you're fucking up and you are deciding to ignore them and just continue. Because sometimes you end up in situations in which you do things that you don't really intend to do, but they have catastrophic consequences. The point is, when do you realize that it's happening and what do you do once you realize that? In gaslighting, you have tens of points in which you could do this, and categorically you decide to turn on the other side and continue doing whatever you're doing. So that's one of the reasons why this thing is so, I don't don't even think I have the words. It's just so unforgivable in a way. It's really, really unforgivable. Barry, I'll come back to listen later. I have to run. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Remember to like the video. Yes, if you can give the video a like, it helps. Thank you. So, let's move on, because after this part, and remember, when this part starts, they are basically assigning roles. So, of course, RuPaul decided, you know what, and this is something that I am adding, since so much drama comes out every time queens decide to assign roles, let's do it like this. You decide who gets which kind of roles. So the queens are discussing the roles. Who wants what? Why do they want something? And you know that usually when production prepares these scripts, we can see that some queens are basically typecasted. We have some roles that you can see that are clearly designed for one specific queens. It happens many times before. It's very obvious during acting challenges, for example, but it's something that can be noticed in the Rusicals as well. So usually those queens will try to get those roles. They do understand that some roles are made specifically for specific queens, so they just try to find themselves in those roles. And this is what this section is all about, reading the script and deciding more or less what you want to do. So you have bickering as usually, who wants what and why, but at some point you have Loosey coming out and saying, I have a feeling that these two people are doing this just because I want this role. If I wanted another role, and this is something that I am adding, the gist of it is that if she wanted another role, they would have probably pretended to want that role as well, because why not? So I think that this is not necessarily true. I think this is a reflection of her state of mind at this point, and it's a very bad sign, because when you start to anticipate being gaslit again, it means that you have basically been gaslighted. What's going on, it happened. And it happened, and you take it so much for certain that you already prepare for it happening again. And you can see the sign of that. So having that specific confessional was interesting from the side of production, because it gave us an insight of what was really going on in her mind. Now, I do think that both wanted that role, clearly, because it's a frontrunner role, but we never actually see anybody saying it. But we have people accusing other people of, wanting it. So I don't think there's much strange compared to other times in which we saw queens deciding which kind of role. Sorry, I cannot speak tonight. Deciding which kind of roles they wanted to portray during musicals or acting challenges. I found it interesting, the dynamic that was going on, because at some point you also have Lux saying, no, Loosey saying, you know what, you can have it, then take it. That's it. And once that happens, you have Lux on the other side going like, oh, you know what, now I don't want it anymore, you can have it. Which basically confirms what Loosey was saying in a confessional. Once we see this happening, the two things click, and you realize, oh, wait a moment, she was not just going on a tangent on her own. She might have actually had a point. So, I don't know. I think this is a terrible example. It's a terrible example. I did not like it. I do not like what's going on, and I like even less how cold and calculated it is. And there is more context to it, and I will give it to you once I have a moment to write it down and actually express myself in a way that it's respectful and also clearer, because clearly tonight I am in the state of mood that I am. Hermes, the edit reminds me of season 6. Mistress is Bianca, Lux is Adore, and Loosey is Laganja. But I don't see Loosey as a victim. She's trying to play the game and failing. They are all trying to play the game, which is different from season 6, where you only had actually a couple queen, maybe even just one queen, actually playing the game. Everybody else not really realizing what the game was yet. So it depends on how you define playing the game. Shielding yourself, trying to portray yourself at your best, trying to be real, trying to be realistic in the portrayal that you give of yourself. That, yes, that is part of playing the game. For me, I don't expect any queen to go on Drag Race and be their 100% self. We call this reality television, but at this point we know that it's inspired by reality, but it has very little to do with things that actually happened. So I would consider incredibly naive to go on Drag Race and portray who you are 100%, because 40 minutes episode, 1 hour episodes in a 16 episode season is not enough to represent the complexity of a human character, especially if people like us, queer people, have been through a ton of shit that we had to slowly digest, understand, recognize in other people, and then re-understand it again, and then try to find a common ground through different things. And these are the things that makes us so unique in a way. Is the things that we went through. You cannot actually represent all of that in so little time. So it's okay to shield yourself, but there is a difference between shielding yourself and preventing others from shielding themselves. That is my whole point. So if by fake you mean shielding yourself, yes, everybody is doing it. I've been saying this for years at this point. Everybody is doing it. I don't have a problem with it. And it doesn't preclude me to actually like those people. I went through the past season with people constantly asking me if I liked Lady British, and I've always been like, yeah, I do appreciate. Now I can tell you, yes, I liked her a lot. I did like her a lot, but you all thought that I didn't because I pointed out this shielding. Because for me, it's important that people understand the difference between shielding and between bullshitting. So that for me is the whole point. Now, this bullshitting, of course, goes on for a while during this episode. We also see it when we usually have mirror moments. So, the queens are talking. Oh, how are you drawing inspiration for, let's see if we can go there. Where is it? No, this is the musical. There we go. Let's stop here. We also see it when at some point somebody asks Mistress, well, who are you taking inspiration from? Well, from an old friend. She was called Loosey. And I'm like, to make it a joke, you have to have people that are in on the joke. Otherwise, it looks like something else. So this theme continues and goes on during Untucked, and it will probably go on in the next episode as well, and it started well before this episode. This is exhausting, this is annoying, this is ruining all of the fun. Because all in all, the musical itself, it was really, really good. I think that they did an amazing job. For once, they actually put effort in doing it. All of the roles are well thought out. Yes, some roles are more in your face than others. Granted, it always happens. But all in all, it was a very, very good effort. And it was tainted by all of these dynamics that were going on behind the scenes. So, what is the point? What is going on? And also, why did I have that specific intro? So I want to take a moment to actually talk about this. In the US, what's been happening, to give you the TLDR for all of the people who are not from there. Basically, their highest court of law is decided by lifetime appointments. So what happened when Orange Man actually went to the presidency is that he had a chance to put there a lot of people that came from a specific right-wing perspective. So at this point, it created a climate of fear that since your highest court now has a right-wing majority, most of the rights that have been recognized during the years can and will be taken away, starting from the rights of women, going on through the rights of queer people, and possibly at some point going on to the rights of people living with disabilities, because these are all of the basic agendas that we see on the right wing. Inside this climate of fear, you have basically the single states who basically have the freedom to do whatever the fuck they want, as long as they abide by the federal laws whose ultimate take comes from where? Well, the big court, and you know who is in there. So they are becoming more daring. That's the point, because I think that these, I don't want to say backward states, but these more right-wing states feel like, yes, they can become daring in the laws that they pass, because if it ends up in the highest court, well, we know who gets to decide on that. So they become even more daring. And inside of this, we have this ban on drag. Now, what I do think, and remember, I'm not a politician. I do not have a degree in law. That's not my area of expertise. So this is my take on all of this. And I hope that it helps you, giving you a little bit more of a perspective of the political situation. Now, zooming in into the issue itself, one of the reasons why I did like this musical so much, because it sends a clear message in the very beginning. Bigotry is all about seeing things in black and white. The problem is that in our own community, a lot of people see things in black and white. That's the problem. That's a unifying achievement that doesn't say left wing or right wing. So, and this comes back to what I was telling you before about the need to send a consistent message. Because I have a feeling when I listen to different opinions, and mind you, I am very open to opinion that comes from the right wing as well. I think understanding the other's point of view is a key into making a better self-reflection, but also being better able to call out the bullshit that comes from the other side. So they're hanging on into this story time with drag queens in order to get the support of the vast majority of the people in their states, which, as any population, is probably undecided. The vast majority of any population doesn't really have an opinion on anything. Nobody has a specialized opinion on everything. Nobody. The vast majority are the undecided ones. And I think that our problem as a community is that sometimes we spend more time pointing our fingers and shielding ourselves behind things like homophobia or transphobia, and we end up pointing our finger more than asking other people, what's your point? What is it that you don't understand? Or explaining how things are. Yeah, sometimes you know, there are actual people who are awful people and there is no conversation going on with them. But what I realized in my real life experience is that a good 60 to 70% of the time, the people on the other side actually want to have a conversation with you and actually have it. And, you know, they are not homophobic and transphobic and fatphobic and so on and so forth. Not the vast majority of the people that I met. They are very undecided. So I think that as a community, it would be more important to educate rather than call out, because I see a lot of calling out and I see very little education. Because, you know, right-wing people in the US have a clear agenda. Everybody knows that. But those people have been elected by real people like you and me. And most of them have been exposed to a ton of disinformation. So if we cannot counteract that, our chances of actually being supportive, and I'm talking about supportive because I'm not from the US, they are all but lost. So one of the points that I make, and that I made for a long time during the years, is drag should not be for kids. Not because it's wrong, that kids are exposed to drag. I don't think that story time with drag queens has really any problem with it. You hear this narratives of people saying, well, but it influences the kids, it confuses them, and blah, 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 and blah, blah. And I'm like, well, first of all, part of the experience of being a kid is being confused 99% of the time because you don't understand the fuck. You're a kid, you're learning the world. So that's a natural state, first. Second, personally, to me, I think that a kid would be more confused by seeing his parents behaving one way when they are outside of the house and then come back to the house and almost kill each other with words. I think that's way worse than having a drag queen reading you a book. But then again, if that drag queen then ends up eating feet on stage and that's what she's known for, well, then it kind of creates a problem, don't you think? Sorry, I think my connection fucked up again. Yeah, Caleb, I think I noticed. This time YouTube told me, thank you. So let's wait. I don't know, maybe it's my router. It could be my router as well. Because the computer seems to be doing fine. Let's see if we're back. Oh, we're back. Okay. So, you see, you have a problem with that because people don't really understand these kind of issues. They like to pretend like they do understand it, but in reality, they listen to 2 or 3 things and make their opinion on that. So, you end up with these laws, which are very different from state to state, but they all seem to have a common theme, making life more difficult for queer people. So in some states, you have bans on performing in drag. In other states, you have bans of being enabled to transition, even if with the word transitioning, what you mean is just counseling, just talking to a person that is an expert and can help you understand better what's happening to you. If you are really a trans person, if you're not, explore yourself a little bit better, even if it means counseling. So we see all of these different flavors that are starting to emerge in bills in different states in the US, which is madness. It's frankly madness, but it's a very real thing that it's happening to millions of people in the US, and it will have real consequences. So I think that it's important to be more realistic with our expectations. As I said before, I don't think that there is a problem in having drag queen story time, for example. But I don't think that it should be one of the priorities of us as a community, considering also that it's such a hot button topic to the people who are trying to ostracize us. So it's basically free ammunitions. So to me, I would push more into supporting trans rights, supporting gay rights, supporting us as the people who we are today, and supporting people who are discovering themselves. I don't think the drag queen storytime is a priority. I don't see anything wrong with it, but I don't think it's a priority. I think it's a lost battle, and it will just bring more problems than it will solve. So that's my opinion on it. Also, we have a problem that drag, it was not invented by gay people. Let's start beginning with that. It existed long before that. But at some point, around the late 60s and 70s, it became very prominent in gay culture. And gay culture used to be, and in some cases still is, very drenched in sexual liberation. Because, I mean, try to put yourself in the mind of people that were living in those eras. They didn't have sexual liberation among straight couples. They didn't have sexual liberation for women. Imagine for queer people. So it's understandable that it took that turn. The problem is that is still what people connect to what drag is. So when you try to emphasize, oh, and the live stream cut again. Oh, good Lord, tonight, YouTube doesn't want to let me talk. Oh, good Lord. Are we back? Nobody knows. YouTube. Am I back? Can anybody hear me? Is it working? It's fine. Okay, thank you. And I lost my point. Meanwhile, I lost what I was saying. Oh, good Lord. Felicia, my concern is that laws outlawing drag would negatively affect the livelihood of drag artists. Yeah, that's the problem. The livelihood. That's the problem. That's one of the biggest problem, actually. Because you gotta survive before you start living. So I don't know what's going to happen in there. I have no idea. I expect the worst. I think that US politics from the outside, they seem very, very divisive. It's always a war against two sides. And I don't think that's the way to actually win this war. I think the way to actually win this war is how we won wars before, is by extending an arm and letting people understand, starting by understanding them. Doesn't matter how outrageous it sounds. But for the sake of argument, unifying a society implies listening and implies understanding. And since we are a community, if other people are not willing to do the first step, then maybe we should do it. Who cares in the end? Who cares? At the end of the day, if other people see our struggles, if other people understand who we are, and have the information to actually counteract those bullshit narratives that we see in right-wing media, then that's the most important thing. That's how you win the war, not by pointing fingers and just doing for sport the calling out of people for whatever they do, and sometimes they do nothing. And I saw a ton of examples of that. A notable one we're going to discuss very soon from a member of our own community, which is going to be tasty. Mario, you were talking about sexual liberation in a time where it wasn't even a thing among the straight population. Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. So, you come from the 60s, the 70s, where female orgasm doesn't exist yet. It wasn't invented yet, if you follow me. So, and of course, all of us would go to hell because our love is deserving of the worst punishment that they could ever conceive. So, it makes sense that drag culture and gay culture and lesbian culture and queer culture in general would push a message of sexual liberation, and the two things would become associated. I mean, I started being properly introduced to drag media, not talking about drag outside in the real world. I'm talking about drag media, the image of drag that comes from the internet, from Drag Race and Sherry Vine's parodies, and it's all about dick. So, you know, we need to grant a little bit of time. Since drag has gone mainstream not even a decade ago, it actually went mainstream during season 8 of Drag Race. It's been 7 years. It's too little time to actually let the thing evolve, become more part of the general culture of the whole world, and start walking on its own feet. And I'm not saying forgetting its roots, but going past beyond that and understanding that not all drag is about sexual liberation. You know, drag can be about a ton of different things. So the moment this gets established, we can move on to other things, but you gotta allow a little bit of time for that. It's not that we all know that some things should be in a certain way in the world, and that would be fine. But the problem is that you gotta give the world time to actually catch up. Otherwise, they're going to fight against you. So, when you're fighting a battle, it's much better to fight, well, to stand against many neutral territories than actually all enemies. So, I think we should be smarter in all of this. Because we are a community of resilient people, and we should and can be smarter. So, I don't know how much we'll see of that, but I put my 2 cents out there. Bonus Fiddle. You are so sensible in being open to other views. Sadly, what's happening now is that if you don't agree, you are vilified, racist, homophobe. Yes, on the internet. On the internet. But guys, the internet is not real life. You can spend much of your real life on the internet. It still does not make it real life. I met many people who have a different point of view from the one that I have. And I can tell you that I learned a lot. I learned a lot. Sometimes it's not important to be right. Sometimes it's just important to understand what's going on and understand it better so that you can take better countermeasures. So, yes, I've been exposed to, not exactly good situation. I know what it means to run. Okay? It happened to me. It happened to me, it happened to my friends. Sometimes you are not the right race. Sometimes you do not come from the right state. Sometimes you don't have the right sexual orientation. And sometimes your culture is too different, and we all ran. So I know what that is about. But those people are not 100% of the people out there. They are a tiny, vocal, aggressive percentage. Let's not risk confusing the rest of the 98% of the people who don't necessarily agree with us for those people, because they are not. Ignorance does not necessarily imply violence. You will find it most of the time behind violence, yes, but the two things are not a necessary consequence of the other. So do not be afraid of ignorant people. We are all ignorant until we become more knowledgeable. Connect with that. Day 15, I get what you're saying about having a conversation. The hick is that some people bring up these matters with no tact or an aggressive mindset, and they challenge you to change their mind. Well, those people, it also important to recognize when you can have a conversation and when you cannot. When people challenge you to change their mind, I don't think that's the right mindset to have any kind of conversation. So since I am a human person and I have a limited amount of energy, because let's be real, it takes energy to confront yourself, to expose yourself to the possibility of being wrong, to listen to difficult perspectives and difficult points of view. It takes energy. So you have a limited amount of that. After that, either you get tired or you get frustrated or you're not in the mood anymore. You have a limited amount of it. I prefer to invest it in people who are more like me from that point of view, that are like, well, let's talk about this. I can tell you honestly what I think. You can tell me honestly what I think. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you change your mind, if you change my mind or I change yours. The point is that we exposed each other to information that we didn't have. That's the whole thing. You don't change people's minds. You do not do that. What you can do is give people the instruments so that they can change their own mind. This is the goal that you want to achieve. This is what we should strive for. Everybody else, it's a loss of your time. So this is how I personally conduct myself in the real world out there. I choose my battles. Well, maybe I shouldn't say it, choose my battle, but I think it's like an idiom thing. I choose the times when I put my foot down and have a conversation. With some people you can, with some people you cannot. Jennifer, I love the way your mind works. Yeah, I would like my mouth to being able to follow my mind. but I rely on your patience for that. So, to go back to this episode, because these are really things that I really wanted to put out, because I think this was a very, very political episode, and I think it was important to have a little bit more of a political conversation. And for the editing bullshit, you will get a video, and we will go through all of that. Now, a couple of things that I would like to say about the critique. Where are we? Let's see if we can find... Well, let's stay on this slide. Because at some point, the queens are asked, who do you think should go home? Who do you think should not go home? And while Mistress basically ducked the question, Lux went on complimenting everyone, spending actual time to compliment everyone, only to end up shitting on Loosey. Now, at this point, I didn't know if I wanted to laugh about that, if I felt annoyed by it. At this point, I was completely disconnected. I thought it was gaggy that production decided to let us see that. I think that was the very interesting thing. Not just the fact that it happened by itself, but production let us see that. So, what can I tell you? If this is not confirmation that Sasha Colby is the winner of season 15, I don't know what else will confirm it. Probably the moment the final episode the finale airs, and RuPaul tells us that she is the winner of season 15. But until we get to that point, I can tell you, to me, this is just another confirmation that there is only one winner of season 15. And that person is Sasha Colby, which we are going to always lovingly call Madonna. And she deserves all of it. So, a couple of things about the lip sync. Did you guys like the lip sync? Because I was not enjoying it. I was not having it. And I don't think it really has to do with the queens themselves. I think that the song, by the way, was Running Up the Hill. The song that was made famous by the last season of Stranger Things. I think that the choice of the song was terrible. This is a very difficult song to lip sync to, especially if, well, how can I say it? How do you even lip sync to this song? How do you even do it without props or without a public to interact with, somebody to interact with? This is a very difficult song. I personally, when I try to imagine a lip sync to this song, I don't have a particular image of what a queen would actually do to create an entertaining performance. I thought the choice of the song was very, very bad. I don't think this is a good lip sync song, if such a thing does exist. So I think it was more of a marketing choice, since that song, I mean, it's a very old song, and thanks to Stranger Things, it started topping the charts again. So I think it was more of a trying to ride on the fact that this song was becoming famous again, that it was connected to a very famous show, probably one of the most successful shows that we have had in the last 10 years. I think it was more an attempt to create that kind of connection. As a lip sync song, personally, I felt sorry for both of these queens. How do you even lip sync to that? And I don't blame them for being part of a performance that was not really enticing, was not really entertaining, was not really a joy to watch, but it was not their fault. The song, it's like when you participate in an acting challenge and the script is complete shit. I mean, even the best actors still need a good script to shine. So for me, this is the same exact thing. A good lip syncer will still need a good song. Well, of course, marks of a good lip syncer is also the ability to do their best with whatever they're served with. But these songs, to me, serves almost nothing to this specific kind of art form that is lip sync. That's my opinion on it. D15. I found Lux to be very immature and petty to go through all that preamble just so that she could diss Loosey. I I don't think I would use the word immature because it was worded very well. It was worded very respectfully. If we didn't know all of the context, I wouldn't personally see much wrong with it. She was very respectful in the way it was worded, and that shows a clear sign of maturity to me. The point is, once you put all of that into context, you start realizing what's really meant to be. And that makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, honestly. D15, that song made this whole lip sync a farce, honestly. It was a bad song. I think it was a bad song. The song is a good song by itself. I don't think it's a good song for a lip sync. No. Felicia, Running Up That Hill is about 40 years old. There you have it. There you have it. 40 years old. I mean, I do like some love for older music because I did appreciate a time when autotune didn't really exist, where either you could sing or you could sing, and that was it. And songs were more elaborate in a way, more unexpected. The melodies were more unexpected, more, I don't know how to say it. The music of that we have right now for the vast majority of what we listen to the radio is very, very packaged. While music from 20, 30 years ago had more raw. It was more raw. Now, going to... Oh, one thing, yes. Since Girly said, I think Mamaru loves Anitra. There is a moment in which RuPaul actually said it. She said, baby, you were born to do drag. And you know... You know, I couldn't stop thinking about Georgina Chacha, the lovable Georgina Chacha. Every time I hear "You were born to do drag" from RuPaul, it feels more like a marketing strategy than a serious compliment to somebody. This time it was not done on the main stage. It was done in the workroom, so it had a more intimate kind of vibe to it, and it felt genuine. I will give you that. The problem is that we saw Mamaru did it, you know, a couple of times already, and it was not really genuine. It was more storyline pushing narratives, and I always gag a little bit whenever Mamaru says "born to do drag." It's like she's saying "coffee enemas." It's like coffee enemas, you know? So, talking about the top four, you know what I think about villains. In 14 seasons, we only had in top four villains paired with their victims, and there's no victim there. So I still think that there is a very good chance that Loosey could be in the top four, based solely on the fact that her meltdown is basically creating good TV. And also, if Anitra is the one that ends up getting eliminated, it also works well as shock value. So I can see both, since we already have, I forgot the premise, since we already have our top three based on representation spots. So at this point, both options work from a television producing perspective. I don't think Loosey is going to be in the top four, solely based on the statistical fact that we never had villains in the top four if they didn't have a victim. I also think that the win for Anitra was not really, I don't want to say undeserved, because I thought that everyone did very, very well in this musical. You still had some people missing a couple words here and there. You also have some people missing some steps from time to time, not being very well coordinated. But considering the message and the quality of the musical, on average, it was a very, very enjoyable experience, and I think everyone did really well. For me, Loosey did the best, solely based on the fact that she worked very well for longest than everybody else, because she was the main character. So the fact that she maintained a level of quality for such long time, I thought it was very deserving of a win. But giving the win to Anitra, it felt a little bit forced. Again, she didn't wear memorable characters in the Rusical, but I still would have chosen both of them before I would go to Anitra. I really don't get it. I mean, yes, I get it. It's part of the triggering of Loosey, so it makes sense. But, you know, the fact that they gave Anitra this win when she had chances to actually win 100% of her own merit, it's kind of suspicious. So at this point, I think we can basically all agree that we have a top 4 and that Loosey is not part of it. Considering also the fact that the edit of Lux and Mistress has basically gone downhill with Loosey, I also think that we have our top 2 at this point, which should be Madonna and Anitra, with a final lip sync for the crown, which is going to be a reenactment of what we saw on the Rusical. And after that, our Queen Madonna can finally receive her scepter, her crown, and her check, and go out there and spread the word. So, this is everything that I thought about, that I wanted to discuss about this episode. I would say let's take a 10 minutes pause, and that 5 minutes pause. You can shake it up, get a coffee, get something to drink, go to the toilet, smoke a cigarette, and then we go to our Kiki time. So if you have any questions that you would like me to explore in more detail, we can take our time to do that. Okay, see you in a moment. Let's shake it up.
Shake it up. I don't need you to lie. I don't need you to
And we're back. Jennifer, good for you. I'm happy for you. Let's go back with our Paramount logo. Always loved, always present. Because, you know, you gotta support Drag Race. You gotta support the network a little bit. So this is free publicity. This is free publicity. Drago, I cannot believe I am 1 whole hour late. I can. I actually can. D15, for me, the lip sync song that would match the theme of acceptance could have been Special by Lizzo, Lift Me Up by Rihanna, or Rihanna, it's Rihanna, or Who Says by Selena Gomez. Where there are many songs that could have been used, I would have chosen something from the Rocky Horror Show. I think it would have been very fitting. There were references to the Rocky Horror Show in the musical itself. I don't know if any of you actually caught that during Sasha's performance. It was a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I think it would have been very, very fitting. So I do understand maybe something more modern could have worked better for a younger audience, but you know. We're old. We're old. It's so much louder than Top's voice. Is it? I can put it down a little bit. So next time that it comes on, it's not as loud. Oh, I cannot do that. I cannot do that right now. Well, I'll remember to do it next time. Damien, I would have chosen the Time Warp from the Rocky Horror. Yes, that would have worked good. That would have worked good. One of my favorite ones is Sweet Transsexual. I thought that was one of the very first that really burned in my mind, mostly because Tim Curry's performance was masterful. And in that piece, you can really see that he was actually the guy who was performing it in theaters. So when the movie came out, all of these little tricks were implied in the movie as well. So I do understand maybe the word is a little bit controversial today because it makes it's confusing the difference between drag or being transgender. So I do understand maybe it could have been a little bit of a problem, but I mean, at the end of the day, anything would have worked better than this song. And I do understand that sometimes you gotta ride the wave. You know, you gotta follow the world's algorithm. But I don't think this choice was a good choice. This song was a good choice. Not at all. Orchidude, is Amethyst still a type of quartz? Most definitely. She always is, and she always will be. Do I still have it somewhere? No, I don't have it anymore. I removed it.
Wow, amethyst is a type of quartz? For that, you can touch my boobies.
I lied. I lied. Sleepy Rabbit, I would have chosen Footloose for the lip sync. With a lip sync assassin. Special guest tonight, Nina West. Ooh. With the book cover of Shoe magazine. This would have been really a perfect episode for a top 2 lip sync, for example, and something fun, something light-hearted. I don't. Sometimes production puzzles me. I am impressed that they listen to feedback and that they apply it, and I'm also proud of that. So it's a very good thing that we have a show that actually does this. Other times we have choices like this and they really puzzle me. I'm like, how can the same person be wise enough to apply good feedback and then do things like these? It doesn't make sense. It really makes you realize that there are really many people deciding together what to do. And sometimes part of deciding together, it's not about coming to something that we all agree on. Sometimes is, okay, for this instance, we do things my way. For that other instance, we do things your way. And that's how you reach a compromise and end up with a result like this, where they take good feedback, and yet we have episodes that actually make no sense from a narrative perspective. It's really puzzling. Mage Blask, did you see Selena's comments on Ross from her live show? No, I didn't see it. What happened? What happened? I'm keeping an eye on the chat if you want to write it down. Romance, a lot of the placements this season were totally whack. I'm not sure how we'll feel looking back at it. I remember season 14 and 12 fondly. Yes, it felt a lot like season 13, where most of the decisions were really, really, really puzzling. It feels like we have like an odd season thing going on. Somehow the odd seasons of Drag Race end up missing the mark by a long shot. So I don't know if we actually have different producers that work on different years of Drag Race. Maybe they need to take a pause. I would understand that. The work is so demanding that you're like, okay, I can work on this season, but I cannot work on the next. I don't know, guys. At this point, I'm just making assumptions. House of Down Boots. How would you guys rank this season's along the other seasons? I would, well, it's difficult taking into account that there are so many seasons, and I also want to give them credit for taking feedback. But if we consider, let's start from the shift from VH1. Let's start from season 9, because before that, Drag Race was basically another show. It would probably be... no, the worst one was season 13. Then the slightly better one, the next to last, would be season 11 for me. And then probably season 15. Yes, it's very close to the bottom. Not as bad as season 13, which for me was the actual worst, probably the worst season ever of RuPaul's Drag Race US. I'm talking about the main show, not even taking into account All Stars. So nobody will ever top season 13. So many things went wrong during season 13, and there were almost no redeeming qualities to it. That's the problem, because a lot of things went wrong in season 14 too. I mean, remember how long it was, all of the bullshit that was pulled out, but still, the strength of the cast and the strength of the storylines and the fact that it was mostly a very genuine season kind of made up for all of that. And looking back, yes, I look fondly at season 14. I remember being a little bit pissed off at all the shock value and how everything was manipulated to fit all of the goals. It looks like they have like a blackboard with all of the goals that they want to achieve, and then they start building a season on it. And please understand that I have been nice when I said it looks like. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So... but I still remember fondly season 14. At the end of the day, it had amazing queen. The casting was great. Whoever did the casting in season 14 did an amazing job. Those queens worked incredibly well together. They redeemed the whole season. Basically, all of them. All of them. So this season is not really good. Not catastrophically bad, but it's not really good. We still have a lot of bullshit going on. We had too many queens. 16 is too many. The shifting of the length of the episode is not a good thing, and I'm sure it injures the rewatchability of the show. In all honesty, I never rewatched any season since the move to VH1. I never rewatched any of them. No, none. That's because some of them are very rewatchable. Like I would, if I had time, I would definitely rewatch season 9, season 12, and maybe season 14, maybe in a couple of years. But I don't know. At some point, it just... you lose how iconic the show is. It has become so formulaic at some point that you lose the possibility to rewatch it. But then again, do they want us to rewatch the show? Because I have a feeling that they are more pressed about making us see all of the other new iterations of Drag Race. The ones that maybe to watch you need to subscribe to a streaming service. So, you know. Drago says season 9, 12, 14, 10, 15, 11, and 13. Yes, that's really good. That's really good. I agree on that. I would probably put season 12 before season 9. Season 12 would be in my very, very top, but mostly because I have a different connection to it. I started this show with season 12. So I kind of grew into live streaming during season 12. And it was a difficult moment. And it was a difficult moment that we were sharing all together, mostly supporting each other. So there is that kind of added value to it. It's a contextual value. I can never think about season 12 without thinking about the lockdown, which was a difficult period for sure. But also a lot of good came out from it. And, looking back, I try to focus more on these kind of things. Like a lot of people started creating relationships again with their neighbors. Think about it. Neighbors is not anymore the person that you have to complain about 100% of the time because they are too noisy or they complain too much or, they smoke in the building, in the public parts of the building, maybe on the stairs, maybe in the elevator, and things like these. Neighbors became your only connection to sanity. Actual people, and you're like, I miss groceries, I need an egg. I'll go to the neighbor and ask for an egg. So, there's a special connection to all of it. Jennifer, did I miss your thoughts on the runways? No, I didn't express them. I actually skipped the runway altogether. Was not particularly fond of this runway. I did not really understand what the queens were supposed to be doing. The assignment was really, really generic. It was up for interpretation. Personally, I did not pay much attention to the runway. By that point, my mind was completely somewhere else. I can tell you, I do remember Loosey's outfit, and I was not very excited by it. There was also somebody else. I cannot remember who is. Let me scroll a moment through the runways, and I can give you an idea. So Loosey, I think the problem with Loosey was the skirt. I would have liked something incredibly shorter. Probably also an addition of camel toe would have worked really, really well with the outfit. Anitra looked fantastic. I am not sure how much it connects to gloves by having laser beams on your hand, but all in all, I think it worked great. It was a gimmick, yes. It was a gimmick that also worked really, really well. Who else do we have? Mistress. This is something that I told my partner when we were watching this, because he didn't like the puffs on the shoulder, and I was like, yes, they could have been done better, but she can proportionize. You remember when Eureka was all about proportionizing in All Stars? That's what she meant. What they meant. Sorry, that's what they meant. Keeping up the proportions. And I think the shoulder puffs really bring the whole proportion together. So I think she did incredible. I know that Bianca had a problem with the wig because my partner actually watched the pit stop because she reused the wig. Personally, I don't have much of a problem with it. I think it works. All in all, it works well. She is basically, the yellow bird. Lux, she's always amazing on the runway. There is nothing that I can say about it. She's always fantastic. She is a, quote, look queen. She's a fashion forward queen. She definitely knows what she's doing. And if I can recognize it, it means that it's really, really clear. Selena, I don't know. I like what she was going for. I don't think she proportionized really well, but the giant gloves spoke to me. I don't know on which level. I'm still trying to understand it. All in all, she was kind of okay. Madonna was amazing. Period. What can you say? The idea is genius. The idea is simply genius. Madonna was amazing. Do we have anyone else? No, that was all of them. Yeah, all in all, I think that probably Lucy had the least impressive runway out of all of them. It's not that it's bad, it's just that, again, you are put next to other people, and inevitably the perception of people, of viewers, is going to be affected by making a direct comparison to the people who you are standing next to. It's just inevitable. Wind of Gust, do you remember that lip sync between Pearl and Trixie on season 7? Yes, the common opinion is that Trixie won, but I actually preferred Pearl's performance. Does that mean I am drunk? Absolutely not. I can give you a very good reason for that. If you have watched Drag Race past season 7, if you have connected anywhere from season 9, season 10 onwards, then you have a different perspective from the one that we had at the time, because lip syncs for your life were a very different thing at the time. So when we were watching season 7, our perspective, the point where we were coming from, was the history of the show that we knew, which was season 1 through 6. So, of course, the vast majority of the people were like, Trixie clearly won this by a long shot. If she didn't win, it means that there is something about it. And then again, what happened? Queens were brought back. Trixie ended up being the first queen being brought back to the competition and actually surviving more than one episode. It was a huge deal at the time. But if you're one of those people who connected to Drag Race more recently and have been exposed to the fuckery during the lip syncs, including nonsensical double eliminations, not nonsensical double chantés, nonsensical wins, you got used to that kind of bullshit, and you're like, you know what? I kind of can see it why Pearl won. She was doing her own thing. She was connecting to the song on a different level. So yeah, I could see it. And I do understand why people would look back and say, yeah, I could see it. That's because we come from two different points of view. So yeah. But when I have some free time, I'm going to rewatch season 7. That's going to happen. D15, I used to expect and be so excited for the runways and how the queens interpret the theme with their own drag, but for the few last episodes I lost the anticipation I used to foster. Personally, I lost it the moment I realized that it became a game of money. I still do appreciate some good looks, I still enjoy the runway, but it's not something special anymore for me. Because I cannot ignore the struggle behind it, the desperate trying to get money, to get people to help, to get in touch with stylists, to make compromise, to maybe ask for a small loan, either to people or, God forbid, a bank or a payday. So it's tainted for me. So I look at it and I think, oh yeah, it looks good. Oh yeah, it's fine. But to me, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. It doesn't really matter. And according to the show, it doesn't matter either. Unless it's convenient to the plot, convenient to the storylines, runways usually do not count in the final judgment. Jennifer, on the most recent episode of The Pit Stop with Bianca and Laganja, Bianca mentioned now that her NDA is up and she can say how she lip-synced against Laganja and lost. I was really confused. I can give you the true story. The NDA never expires. It was that way since season 1. We know that because we had confirmation of that. And it came from Angina. So we know that the contract did become more restrictive as the show went on, not more open. So their NDA was in the contract unless it was amended privately. Or she's simply saying things because it helps with the show. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I have watched this episode of the Pit Stop. You can, if you know at this point that they are pushing storylines, not 100% of the time, but pushing storylines is part of doing that show, then you cannot unsee it. So she might have had permission from World of Wonder to actually share these kind of things. Let's remember that that show is produced from World of Wonder, so even if she said it and lied about it, or if she said something that she shouldn't have said it, they could have always cut it out. So I think it's nothing more and nothing less than propaganda done to confuse the public. Remember, once the public starts to get information that you don't want them to have, the best way to counteract them is not to deny the information that they have, is to give them more information that confuses them. So this, I think, is one of the instances. But I can put my balls on the chopping block and tell you that the season 6 contract most definitely must have had a non-disclosure agreement that goes on through lifetime, like every non-disclosure agreements in reality television. Maybe not exactly all of them, but it's one of those very, very common things. It's like, I don't know, you can't wear a thong in the office, for example. You know, it's something so basic that everybody knows that you just don't go to the office in a thong and that's it. And you call it a day, you know what I mean? Orchidude, why do you think they decided to do a second UK versus the world instead of choosing a new country? Especially because the queens get no coins on the UK version. I think that in the UK, what they probably want to do is to capitalize on Drag Race as much as possible, and maybe they don't have the resources to go for an All-Stars, so maybe a collaboration with a UK versus the world can somehow keep the Drag Race UK franchise afloat, present every 6 months, without necessarily incurring in the huge investment that it takes for full-fledged All-Star seasons. The last UK versus the world, I think it was 6 episodes. Usually, I would say a good season of All-Stars would be at least 10 episodes, maybe 8 if you really, really want to be on the short side. But that's basically the range. A versus the world will definitely allow for less effort. I would agree that I would have preferred to see another country, possibly Spain. I think it would have been a great candidate for a versus the world. But then again, I don't know how the versus the world franchise is actually licensed. My best option on it would be that World of Wonder as the ultimate world, the ultimate word on it. So different countries, different companies can come forward and say, okay, I want to do an iteration of versus the world. And World of Wonder can say, no, you cannot do it because this year, this country does it. You can do it next year, for example. Sapaya, would you include Sasha Colby? You mean Madonna? Would you include Sasha Colby as one of the strongest winners? Which recent winner would say apart from the essence of beauty? She is iconic. Unfortunately, the season itself did not really allow her to shine, in my opinion. Not the right challenges, not the right edit. I think that this kind of hero edit really brings the impact down. it doesn't really do any favor to the person itself. It does every favor to the season, not to the person. So no, I wouldn't put her in the top. I think The Essence of Beauty is still a strong first, followed by Willow Pill for sure, and then followed by Sasha Velour. Those are my very, very top three of the post logo Drag Race. Before that, Bianca Del Rio, Bianca Del Rio, Bianca Del Rio. But everyone before that was so iconic, made such an impact. And the fact that we only had one Drag Race, it means that their impact throughout the year was very felt. So it doesn't even make sense to make a top queens when it comes to the logo seasons of the show. It makes more sense going through the Viacom / Paramount seasons of the show. It makes more sense. Girly, are you gonna watch España season 3? I haven't even watched season 1 or season 2. And as you know, I'm being very, very lazy with the language barrier on all of these seasons. I haven't even watched Thailand season 2 yet. I started episode 1, I haven't even finished. So the moment that I'm going to watch an international season or a season that doesn't speak English is definitely going to be Thailand season 2. Yes, that's really on my top list. I think that the work done on the Thailand season set that season's apart from the rest of the franchise. They are a show of their own, very, very similar in vibe to what Drag Race used to be, and I really enjoyed it. You can really see the artistry. You can really see the culture. It's amazing. It's simply amazing. If any of you missed it, check online. Remember that there are always ways to find what you need to find, mostly because of the subtitles, because they explain a lot of the cultural references, and those are all done by fans. So you will not find them if you watch the season on World of Wonder Plus. I don't know if there is a possibility to upload custom subtitles to the World of Wonder Plus application. I don't think so. But if that's possible, definitely ask for a link to the subtitles either on the Discord. I wouldn't have a problem spending 5 minutes to find them and then link them, and then you can use them by watching through World of Wonder Plus. I strongly suggest it, yes. Fan-made subtitles are essential, are really essential. Because, yes, I'm not from the US, but the US culture is so prominent that one way or the other, we are all exposed to it. Of course, not to the level of people living there, but we all have very good idea of the references, the meaning of things. For Thailand is, or Spain, or Holland, or France, or Italy, or there was The Switch. I don't remember if it was Argentinian production. I do not remember, but it was a season of Drag Race. So for all of these cultures who are not that prominent in mainstream cultures, good subtitles are essential. Where am I in the comments? Oh, Feifei, why do you all think so many queens talk about their NDAs expiring? Sometimes queens who aren't even World of Wonder favorites mention NDA supposedly expiring because they do not know what it is. If we learned something, is that legalese is not exactly something that most of the people easily digest, especially those who end up signing contracts written in legalese. NDAs do not expire. NDAs on Drag Race. The contract has been leaked many times. The NDAs is in perpetuity. What expires are other clauses, which are either related to the ability of the queens to participate in other media, which can be television media, it can be radio, it can be live appearances, if they are touring appearances, which are different from performing in your local gay bar, for example. All of these things in the newest contracts have very specific clauses and have very specific expiration dates. When we did the live stream and actually read the full contract, we had to do that in 2 weeks. It took 2 different live streams to go through all of that. I counted at least 4 different expiration dates for 4 different things. So that might be the point of confusion. It could also be that they are asked to lie about it. It wouldn't be uncommon. Part of being successful in the Drag Race franchise is to suck it up to the boss. So if the boss says, could you maybe casually drop that your NDA is expiring, so that people will take everything that you are going to say from now on as if something that you say out of your own will, and that nobody silence you in saying it, so it will be more prominent, it will have more of an impact. There are a million reasons why you would want to do that. Also, the simple fact that you are gagging those queens to stay silent about things that maybe you misconstrued them on television is not a good look. So having a stream of people saying, no, it actually expires, it helps. Then again, the best way to hide information is to hide it in plain sight by confusing the people. So don't forget that. Damien, the Switch was a Chilean production. Thank you, Damien. Orchidude, so I guess you're not watching Drag Race Belgique or Sweden currently running. I had no idea. I know that Drag Race Belgium, it's easier to pronounce for me, sorry. Drag Race Belgium was airing. I knew that because Weasel is from Belgium. So, of course, he couldn't shut up about it. I didn't know that Sweden was currently running. No, I had no idea. Weasel! Oh, Weasel woke up. Drag Race Deutschland will be cute. Tayel, Selena dragged Ross Matthews for his empty critiques. Bring back Nicole Byer or Jada winner chicken dinner. Yes. Selena did a great job. Ross is by far the worst judge on RuPaul's Drag Race ever. And it wasn't always like this. He became like this. I don't know if he was paid more to be like this, but since most of the critiques, I think it's actually something that comes from the judges themselves. I do think that production is telling them to go in a specific direction to justify narratives and storylines, absolutely, but how they do it is up to them. This is what I think is happening on the show. So the way that Ross goes there is incredibly cheap and ineffective, is basically a nothing talk when Ross is there, which make him feel almost as if he doesn't care at all. He doesn't give a shit about it. And I mean, at the end of the day, even RuPaul doesn't give a shit about it, but at least she makes the effort to pretend. Ross is like, no, come on. Let's be done with this shit. Give me my check. I need to go back home to my husband and my dog. That's what Ross feels like. Pedro, Sweden is surprisingly good. Also, I remember people telling me that España was shot in a kind of Big Brother settings, and I thought that was a genius idea. That was the way to go. I wish Drag Race in general at least would try to do an all-star season like that. I think it's genius. Feifei, it's weird because Ross was very tolerable on season 7 and season 8. Yes, that's what I was saying before. That was my feeling as well. It's like he became like this. He stopped giving a shit at some point. Because actually, when I heard that Ross would actually become one of the main judges, I was very excited about it. I used to like Ross Matthews a lot. Not just visually. Personality-wise. I used to like him a lot. So it kind of happened in the last 2 or 3 years. Weasel, the only reason I won't shut up about Belgium is because I'm not on season 1 of Drag Race Belgium. I deserve to win the whole thing. Then take over hosting from Rita. Okay, Weasel. Okay, well, that wig still looks incredibly thirsty, so don't tease it too much. Damien, there is no record of a Matthews comedy set. Well, I'm talking about what I saw Drag Race mostly. But I did see Ross Matthews in other things because I knew already who he was when I saw him on the Snatch Game from season 4. I thought that was his first appearance on Drag Race. I knew him already, so I knew that I saw him somewhere. I cannot recall from where. Girly, which queens do you see killing it in an all-star season? From this season, definitely Anitra. Definitely Anitra. Jax would do very well in a kind of redemption setting. Amethyst, of course. I think Amethyst could have easily get a better edit, a proper edit, and maybe even go all the way through the top 4 instead of Lux. It would have worked incredibly well for me. She had massive potential. We saw it during the Snatch Game. She had huge room for growth and improvement, and I think it was a huge loss for this season. Eliminating Amethyst so soon with such personality, it was very, very questionable. Yeah, and she was not the only one. I think Irene could have brought not only great TV, but also great personality, and she was kind of denied that opportunity. It was very... It was really a missed opportunity for all of these queens. I think they would do great on All Stars. I'm not sure Amethyst would, because she really could have done great in a season, in a regular season, but I don't think she would be able to shine as much in an all-star season. For example, even though it's different, very different kind of drag queens, very different kind of talents, and very different kind of edits, but for me, the example of Jen Sport is very, very fitting. It was a queen that did really, really well in a normal season. She is going to have the same potential. Where am I? Oh, Orchidude. Remember how allegedly they cast Soju on season 11 and sent her home first just to get her to sign an NDA so she couldn't spill the Drag Race tea on YouTube anymore? No, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. That is a queen that I don't mention much and I don't look up much because the receipts that surfaced were incredibly compelling. They came from many different sources. They told a coherent story among all of them. There was very little contradiction about what was happening. So for me, when I see that kind of things done in that kind of way to those kind of people, for me, you stop existing. I'm not, there are a lot of people in here who point fingers and ask for different kind of punishments and so on. They can do that. I'm like, you simply do not exist, period. And I know this is going to be controversial, but I could almost say that I almost have more tolerance for, what was her name? Season 4 winner. Do you see what I mean when I remove people from my mind? That's exactly what I mean. It even becomes difficult to recall their name. That's a great ability. It took years to master. Oh, good lord. Chat, help. Sharon Needles. Sharon Needles. I could even have more tolerance for Sharon Needles. And that I think tells a lot. For me, for me, what's her name again? Soju. For me, Soju is on shitty pie level. I don't know if worst. Possibly, yes. No. It's really the same shitty level, yes. Wait, is Amethyst? Thanks, Sen, for lifting up the mood. Yes, she's still a type of quartz. Feifei, I think World of Wonder didn't realize that Amethyst was a type of quartz. Yes, that's why I'm trying to, spread the message so much. As RuPaul taught, is a very, very important thing to spread the message. So I did my best. Fulani, are all-star seasons really all-stars now? That's a good point. They feel more like second chance or third opportunities for queens who we feel got kicked off too early more than actual all-stars. I do agree with you. All-stars used to be something incredibly special, used as a way of giving a second chance to people who clearly not only had a shot of winning, but could actually have been winners. So we would actually see only people from the top 3, top 4, maybe top 5 if you were an interesting character. That's what all-stars used to be. That's what all-stars used to be in many other iterations of many other franchises. The point is, the moment you start making it a thing and you want to have an all-stars every year, yes, it changes its meaning. I would have, all-stars is a catchy name. Many franchises use it, so it's also very recognizable, which in branding is important. Wink, wink. So it makes sense, but I would actually call it something else. I would call it something else because it is something else. You're right. It's actually a second chance, sometimes a third chance. House of Down boots. I imagine top RPDR in a season with Mera Mangle and Busey. Can you imagine that? My god, the drama. Who would I vibe with? Probably Mera. I would probably vibe with Mera a lot. We would probably smoke a blunt in backstage and then get into character. D15, what kind of new challenge do you think they should introduce? I would opt for some Drag Olympics, 3 trials, a cooking infomercial, and make your own drag, own makeup, wigs. I think that works fantastic. Fantastic. Like, make your own wig, style your own wig. That is something that we used to have. We don't really have it anymore. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Also, James Mansfield forever. She does drag wigs tutorial on YouTube. And while she does that, she also is very personable. Sometimes she talks about history of drag, the history of the people whose hairstyle she's trying to reproduce, and she really knows what she's talking about. You can see that she really has a passion for it. So I think those videos are great. Not exactly my thing, so I don't connect and watch every single episode, but from time to time I like to watch one of those. Even those it's not like I don't even own a wig, so I wouldn't know where to start from. Yeah, I would like to see more styling of wigs. Yes, making your own wigs, making wigs out of unconventional materials. That would be great. That would be great. Infomercials, they always work for me, of any kind. We can have cooking ones, we can have whatever you want. They all work for me. I would possibly go with something that is trendy, because it always helps the show. Yes. I would like more singing challenges with actual singing and no autotune. Singing live on stage. A mini version of a musical could work. An acting challenge with one song, for example, that all of the queens sing, maybe first as different groups and then all together. Doesn't need to be long. A couple of minutes is more than enough. I would like to see more of that. Mostly because it makes people realize how really difficult it is to actually sing. It's easy to sing well in a studio, sing well live. And it would also give a chance to those people who can actually sing to be heard. It would be a good thing. I would appreciate that. Anything that is creative, anything that is created while being on the show, so you couldn't have possibly paid for it or have somebody make it for you. So anything that is creative on the show, for me, it works well. I wouldn't mind see some day drag and throw these queens in the street. I wouldn't mind that. Would be nice. Those were golden times. Pedro, Mara would be pretty decent in a season, I think. Bassi is first out. Oh, Bassi! I thought Busey. Those are two different queens. Busey is from Canada. He's from Canada. No, I would probably be first out. I can tell you already. I would be first out. Unless they keep me as the weirdo. The lovable weirdo. Yeah, but you also have to have actual talent to be a lovable weirdo, so I don't know. I would probably be first out. But girl, I would work that hairography on stage during my lip sync for my life. I can grant you that. Funny, I like the TikTok challenge from All Winners. You mean the app? That was a good idea, yes. That was a good idea. Wasn't it from UK? Wasn't it UK season 3? They did it on UK season 3. Well, that's what I had in mind. Feifei, I would love to see real singing, but I fear that's never going to happen. Yeah, me too. They definitely did the switch, and they are going to work their magic in the studio no matter what, which is a real loss to me. It's a real loss. I think singing is one of the arts that I do appreciate the most. So when I hear somebody singing with their own voice and no software behind it, it really gets to me. Even if it's not perfect, it's a way of expressing yourself. You connect. You have through singing. You have the ability to connect to people on a level that it's normally not accessible. The moment you auto-tune the shit out of it, you are closing that door. It loses the appeal. So that's what I think about it. Fulani, yes, I missed the man on the street in the early season. Those were gaggy moments. That was raw Drag Race. That was raw. It wasn't even medium raw, medium rare. It was rare Drag Race. Pedro, not the Dahlia Sin broccoli appearance queen. I almost forgot about Dahlia. She could have been amazing. We lost a lot due to the fact that Dahlia was out. But they got a better villain. So, and she was actually playing it pretty cute in the very first episodes. If you knew who she was outside of Drag Race and then saw her on Drag Race, you would be like, these are two different people. These are two different people. She was behaving really, really good on Drag Race. I think that was pivotal in the fact that she was sent home so soon. House of Down Boots. Super Thieves was great, but integrated again in the actual promos. I love the way they played us with that. Yeah, it worked well. Damien, didn't you see how the live singing challenge worked out for them in season 2? You know, back in the day on Logo, they would upload the full challenges, which means you could have gone to the Logo TV website and actually see the full cut of those challenges. Jujubee's challenge was never uploaded. All that we saw of her performance of Lady Toy by RuPaul was what we saw in the actual episode. The full footage was never released. Never. And I can assure you, I saved all of that stuff because I thought, you know what, one day they might remove it and nobody's ever going to see it. So let me get all of that. And guess what happened? All of that stuff got removed, but I got all of it. Flanny, I also enjoyed the challenge where Simone and Utica dressed up at each other's. Oh yes, the opposite attract challenge, as I called it, because that was how I named the episode of the Chop, which, by the way, was copyright claimed and is still not accessible, and it will never be again. But yeah, I think it was a good idea. Yeah. And I'll never forget Rosé's mug. That was legendary. Pedro, Aja definitely told her they would make her look crazy on TV. Yeah, she might have given her an heads up. By the way, did you notice in the pit stop that Bianca made a reference to Aja being triggered by the Queen's voguing? Did you notice that? Because I did. So, if you want to get to the conclusion, you get through it. And that has everything to do with Reddit. That is my suggestion. D15, I need to leave, beautiful people. See you next week. Thank you for coming. And I'll see you next week. Damien, Dahlia deserved to be on the I'm That Bitch challenge instead of the Cell Block Tango group in season 12 premieres. Well, season 12 was a weird, beautiful season. I do understand that you have to break some eggs if you need to make an omelette, so I don't really have a problem with Dahlia going home so soon. But then again, she's a character that I would like to see again for All Stars. I think it would be interesting, very interesting. Possibly next to Candy Muse. That would be great casting. And I'm sure Candy would accept the challenge. House of Down Boots. Do you think Nina Bonina Brown got a shady edit on season 9? Yes and no. Based on what a lot of other queens said and what we actually saw of Nina over time is that she is a peculiar person. Behind the persona, behind, the Nina Bonina Brown, there is a peculiar person. So I do think that what we saw was actually real, but it was exaggerated, brought to a point to actually make a narrative out of it. And we know already who was on the other side of that narrative. I think that it could have been way worse. They could have exaggerated it a lot, but I would definitely think that there was something. We knew that there was something. We saw that there was something. Nina herself admitted that there were things and there are still things going on. So I don't want to get into all of that, mostly because I think it's a very intimate thing. So if she decides to open up more about it, that's her thing. I'm not here to discuss things that other people have been already open about as far as they could be open about. So I would just keep it at that. Damien, Tyra's full singing performance have been re-uploaded on YouTube. Oh, that's majestic. That's majestic. It was next to Juju. It was one of the ones that I enjoyed the most. They were catastrophically bad. Catastrophically bad. In one of my folders for the channel, there is a 50,000 subscribers celebration episode with a cut from Family Guy and Drag Race. The background is Tyra singing Lady Toy for the live challenge. So there you have it. Feifei, that Utica Simone challenge was a good idea, but it was such a setup. I do agree with that. Pedro, makeovers are always a setup for production. Next episode has me nervous. Is it a makeover episode? Because the moment a little bit of land started playing in the background, I stopped the episode and took a pause, go smoke a cigarette and cool down because I was almost triggered. I will not go as far as saying that I was, but almost. Like for a couple of hours I was a little bit pissed, to be honest. Damien, Aja should make a return to All Stars alongside Candy and Dahlia, also on the cast, in my absolute fantasy. I want that now. Now that you said that, I want that. Can you imagine the drama? The real drama. You don't even need to manufacture that. Like, it's something that happened in real life. It would be amazing. It would be amazing. Let's have that. Please, let's have that. Let's make that a thing. I know that, you know, I would think that Dahlia and Candy would say yes to that. They would definitely ask. They are not stupid. They are not stupid. If they ever get the call, the first question that they will ask is this other person in the season's cast? Is she? We've seen many other queens do that. So, we know that they do it. They are not stupid. They know that storylines are a thing. They are going to ask. Since we talked about her, Nina Bonina, for example, said that she received the call. She said no, because Shay was there. She was afraid that they would build a storyline around that. So she said no. At least according to her saying. So, I would think that Dahlia and Candy would say yes, knowing that the other is in the cast. I'm not sure Aja would. House of Down Boots. I love the makeover challenges, but they really be messing it up with judging every time. This is literally the essence of drag. Yeah, it's one of those challenges that we usually don't get a very fair judgment. It's difficult to actually get a very fair judgment on Drag Race. Sometimes it's acceptable. Like, okay, you could see, well, if you put it from a kind of taste perspective, like they both did, for example, two queens, they both did equally good, but my personal preference made me enjoy queen number one the most. Then I can accept it. It works. But we really had some questionable judging and winning. Like when you have people that should be in the top and they end up in the bottom, you lose all credibility. You don't have any more credibility whatsoever. Mario, Candy is throwing too much shade towards production to ever get a call. Candy is amazing. Do you remember when I said Candy Muse for the win? I had reasons. She would have been a magical winner. By that point, we knew that it was either her or Simone. And I think, no shade to Simone, Candy would have been incredibly more iconic. So I told you, 2 years ago, I told you, Candy Muse for the win. Franny, I love makeovers as well. I really want to see if Sasha will succeed in this challenge. As mother of many queens, she should have put so many of her children in drag. I think she will succeed. This is one of her challenges to actually win for me. Feifei, the judging on makeovers is always bad, but I appreciate that it's impossible for World of Wonder to edit things for convenience. Yes, part of editing is convenience. You are making a choice. Which story do you want to tell? Which story do you want to cut out? Which story do you want to emphasize? On the bright side, bad makeup is bad makeup. If you look bad in makeup, you can adjust the lighting to make somebody look more metallic. But at the end of the day, bad makeup is bad makeup. Especially today, where drag makeup has become so perfected. Yeah, you cannot hide that. There is no hiding that. Jason, it would have been drama TV plus if they had sent Lucy home this week instead of Selena. It would have been it would have been good quality drama TV if they sent Lucy home instead of Selena. Yeah, I would have agreed on that, but maybe Lucy has more to give and maybe she can get a little bit help in that. It was so very obvious that this was going to be Selena's last week, no matter how this episode played out. I still had some hope, but I do agree it was Selena's turn to go home. There was no going back those 3 times in the bottom. It was pretty clear also going home 5th or 6th is pretty common for a narrator. It's a pretty common spot. So it would have made sense. It was either this episode or the next one. I had basically no doubt anymore. Fulani, who do you see not doing well in the makeover? I'm thinking Lux only because she's a newer queen. Well, I would agree on that, but because she is young, and being so young sometimes means that you didn't actually have time to exercise drag makeover on other people. Older queens or queens who come from big drag families had more than a chance to actually do all of these things. So for me, I would probably say Lux and Nitra are the ones who might have the biggest problem in this challenge. Everybody else, I think, can sail pretty well. But at the end of the day, we know already that Lux is in the top. So no matter how she performs, she is not going to be in the bottom. Period. So unless they do a Lucy Lux lip sync and Lux sends home Lucy, it could be. Yeah, for me, she's probably the one most at risk. Next to Anitra. But I don't think Anitra is going to be in the bottom. Fulani, who do you see not doing well in the... Oh, well, not in the bottom unless they pulled the switcheroo. Who do you see not doing well in the makeover? Oh, yes, this I read. Because the makeover challenge gives them power to judge however they want, and it makes for the most controversial decision. For me, every challenge at this point. For me, the most ones are acting challenges. Those ones are really the easiest to manipulate. You can manipulate everything from scripts, from assigning roles, from the way you rehearse them. You can lie to people. You can make them feel confident when they're really portraying a shit show. Then you can cut and paste everything that you want. For me, acting challenges are really, really at the first spot. They are at the first spot. Makeovers, at least at the end of the day, you do see the makeup. You do see it. Metallic, argent, metallic, always metallic. Always metallic. My God, Jocelyn will never be on All Stars. She will never be on All Stars, and I cannot believe it. It's been almost 10 years, and Jocelyn Fox has not been on All Stars, and she will probably never be. Take time to digest that and swallow that. Jocelyn. She was amazing. She was one of the lights of season 6. She's such a fantastic queen. So endearing in a very genuine way, which is rare. In a time when everyone goes on Drag Race merged, prepared, with a team managing their social media, at least, the wisest of them, where they pay for outfits, where they have a persona down to a T, they know how to recognize storylines, they know how to work things, taking into account the meta of all that goes on in the competition, I mean, there are very few people who are actually endearing during Drag Race, not because they don't have a possibility of being like that in real, in real life, but being endearing on Drag Race is a huge risk, and not many people are willing to take that. Has anybody been following Tyra Sanchez comeback? No, not really. Not really. Mostly because I learned one thing about Drag Race, which is leave Tyra alone, no matter what. And that's exactly what I do. The second thing that I learned was leave the vixen alone. And that's another thing that I learned, and I stick to that. Even with the best intentions, those people have been relentlessly attacked and used for cheap upvotes and cheap videos, and leave them alone. That's what I follow. That's the rule that I follow. How's it down, Boots? Got a test in Czech first thing in the morning. Bye for now. It was great to join. Thanks for coming. I'll see you back next week. Damien, Jocelyn got a divorce. Yes, many years ago. Many years ago. I remember that. And there was something about I think they were married already before Drag Race. There was all of this, a little bit of a controversy about how the show tried to make a thing out of it. But it's part of the business. If it hadn't been for a last-minute decision at the abortion clinic, yes, Faye. That was an interview. That was an interview. I mean, how do you even come up with that? Today I wonder if maybe she was encouraged to actually say that. I mean, that is something that I would have come out with, but just because we have a very different approach to female reproductive rights in media here. Like, it's not taboo to talk about it. And why should it be? Why should it be? But yes, it was amazing. It was amazing. I felt sorry for, I don't remember her name, the mother of Cher. She was very like, oh my god, she didn't ask that. Argent, I'm going to have to sleep. Good night, y'all. Have a ice Kiki. We'll have a ice Kiki for sure. Flanny, she was on tour but hurt herself and had to postpone some dates. I just hope she's well. Drag Race fans did her wrong, but she played into it. A little bit, yes, I do agree with that. I do agree. She has her own responsibilities as well. I also do think that, the person behind Tyra has not been in a good mental space for a long time. Independently of the primary cause of that. So when people are in that state of mind, you just, take a respectful step back. That's what I do, at least. Funny, that crazy bomb threat stuff, it was reckless. I mean, which kind of sane person would ever do that? And I'm not saying that as an insult. I say that as an acknowledgement of struggle. So it was a clear sign. It was a very clear sign. But look at the bright side. All of those videos do not exist anymore, which was a very commendable thing. Damien, I'm pretty sure Cher's mother has recently passed away, sadly. Oh, that's terrible. She looked like a loving woman. Mario, allegedly water. Oh, Fulani, she did pass away in 2022. Okay. Well, she did have a long life, so good for her. I hope she enjoyed most of it. Sen, is it the water created by Irene? Maybe. Maybe. Maybe she did not wash her hands. Or who knows which kind of water was the ice made from? Which is a type of quartz, Mario. Absolutely. Purified by an amethyst. Mario, you're still awake? I am surprised. I am surprised. Did you start taking Mondays off? You know, guys, Mario usually goes to sleep like half an hour after we start the live stream. He comes to say hello, greets everybody, and then falls asleep. in a maybe drunken state. Could be. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. I just listen. Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. I do appreciate having you here. I don't know if I'm allowed, but I would really love to show that video of you. I will not show it. I don't even know where I have it. I know that I saved it because it was gaggy and I wanted to show my partner. This is Mario. But I will not show it. Don't worry. The one where you're performing your aerography. That was amazing. That was the introduction that everybody had to Mario. Imagine that. Imagine that. No, I'm not sure I can find it. No. But I did find... Oh, babies. I found videos of the mousies. Oh, yes. That's the one that I made. You remember we had that crazy 8 hours live stream when Spot had surgery. That's in my Drag Race videos folder. Oh my god. No, I don't have that video. Good for you. You're free, Mario. Weasel. Good night, Weasel. I'll see you on Discord? Probably yes. See you on Discord before I see you back on live stream. Feifei, is the 3-way lip sync video still on the board? Oh, no, I stopped it. I did the charts. But I simply stopped the series because it was taking up additional time. People did not really like it. I enjoyed doing it. I thought it was interesting, and it also gave me a baseline. But at the end of the day, if people don't really enjoy it, then there is really no point in making it. So what I will do is I will make special episodes of it for the Patreon supporters. Like every once in a while, I will release a video in there. What I will probably start to do is publishing charts. So I created an Instagram account, so maybe I can put them there. But no, making full videos, I think it's more a better use of my energies if I make things that people are actually interested in seeing. And that also give me a chance to address things that I consider more important than deciding if a lip sync was filmed in a deceiving way. So I thought it was a good idea, but you know, sometimes people enjoy different things, so it's not really a problem. Mario, it's a GIF on Discord. Yes, but I downloaded that as a video because OBS doesn't play those. So I made it into a video. Faye, I enjoyed it while it lasted. I get why you stopped, though. Yeah, the point is, there is always a limited amount of time. What you don't know is that recently, and by recently I mean since November, I started redoing the kitchen. So, what happened with the kitchen? When we moved here, we didn't have money. And by didn't have money, I mean that we really didn't have money. We didn't have money for furniture. So we went to IKEA and bought the cheapest thing that we could find, and I cut it and got it and somehow made it fit into the kitchen that we have, and we got away with 500 euros for the whole thing. The problem is that, you know, when you cut IKEA furniture is shit already. When you start cutting it, you also need to reinforce it, and sometimes you do not properly insulate it, so a little bit of water might get in the way, and it goes everywhere because there is no protection because you cut everything. And you might end up after 4 or 5 years with, well, it's actually 3, with a kitchen that is falling apart. So a choice was made to redo the kitchen. You know, buy all of the cabinets, recut everything because our kitchen is weird shaped and we certainly cannot afford a woodworker to do it. So I have to do it. And that's what I have been doing in most of my free time since the end of November. Creating the project and crashing everything that we had in there while also trying to put the new cabinets in there and still have a usable kitchen. I'm almost finished, but you know, the problem is when you have weird angles in the kitchen, weird walls that should be straight, but they're really not, and it's fitting then, you know, 2 fags are cooking in there. It really makes sense. But you have like 93-degree walls and 90 degrees furniture, and over 3 meters, those 2 or 3 degrees of difference make up for basically 10 centimeters of distance of the wall, distance of the furniture from the wall. It starts to become a little bit of a problem. So you need to start cutting things, and you need to make everything fit to make it feel as if, you know, it's not a complete shit show, which is a ton of work. You have no idea how much work is that. But, you know, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Mario tagged you into something on Discord. Let me open Discord. Let's check that. Hello, Discord? Where is she? Where is she? Oh, in the live chat. Oh, there she is. There she is. That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. Well, for everybody that is not seeing this, there is basically this video of Mario doing a hairography, and then, you know, showing her bending, let's say it like that, bending, and showing the goods. So it's interesting. It's an interesting view. I'm joking. She's not showing it. It's not a sexual thing. She's not showing anything. But it's, oh shit. But it's a little suggesting. Oh, Fulani, good night. Good night. You sound thirsty, says Mario. Yes, I finished my... Oh, you mean thirsty? Oh, no. No. But I'm out of water. I am out of water. I didn't even have limes to make lime water. I forgot to buy them. Yeah, I know. I know. And it starts to get to that time of the night when I start to get angry. Angry? Hungry. I meant hungry. Damien, Cynthia Lee Fontaine would say you're cuckoo. Yeah, that's a very nice way of putting it. Her cuckoo. Mario's cuckoo is in full view. Legendary Legend. Not yes, I finished my water. Yeah, I really finished my water. I should have gone to the kitchen and get another bottle. But I didn't. Because I'm lazy. And also I don't like standing up during live streams. And then be like, oh, sorry, I'll be back in 3 minutes. I'll just, raid the fridge. There used to be a time, I don't know, there used to be a time in which I would stream for like 4 or 5 hours. On average, like that was the average. It's not like I am much better today. The live stream was still incredibly long. But I would start hitting the 4th hour and I would be like, you know what, guys? Let's wait a moment. I will go to the fridge, grab something to eat, and then we can come back and talk about everything we were talking about. Who could say no to Amethyst purified water? Nobody could. Nobody could. That's the best water out there. I heard that Nestle wanted to acquire the rights for it. Amethyst said no, which of course she would, because she's an amazing person. Oh, good lord. Okay, let's call it night. I will try to get the video out based on what happened in this episode as soon as possible. Probably around Wednesday. That's a very reasonable date. And I will see you back next week for our last episode of the regular. Then we will meet again for reunion and finale. I still think we might have a non-elimination episode, maybe the next one. We'll see about that. For everything else, I am always on Discord. You can tag me there. I'll try to be as present as possible. If you want to chit-chat in the comments, I actually read and respond to the comments on this channel because it's us, the most intimate ones. And I will see you next week. In the meantime, have a great time, have a great week, and be nice, especially you, Mario. Good night, everyone.